Thought I'd try a little video thread update this time. So just a little summary of the niggles I'm working out at the moment. So we know all about the brake kit I've got on there now. The issues I was having were that in order to dodge the caliper, I needed to space out my wheels, and in spacing out the wheels I've got obviously issues of contact with the arch, which were not too much of a big deal, but also on full lock the outside top edge of the wheel being that much further out, the arc was changed and it would rub on the rear of the arch. So that was an issue. So rather than sort it by doing clever engineering, I sorted it by buying slightly narrower wheels. So I've got some of these little buggers, SSR Mark IIs. These are a width staggered set, so I've gone from having 13x7s with slightly negative offset all round to 13x7s on the back and 13x6.5 on the front, and that ought to, they're slightly more positive in offset as well, so that ought to bring the outside edge within a couple of millimeters of where the original equips were sitting. So that should sort that issue on the front. These were pretty rough when I got them. They were sat in someone's shed for over a decade, so all the lacquer had peeled and corrosion around where the bolts were up against the alley of the lip. So I've done a little bit of a rough refurb job, painted the centres in close enough to SSR orange to match my lovely factory side stripe. Yeah. New high grade high tensile bolts. I just need to get some SSR specific, I think they're pretty much the same as other old school JDM wheels, quite narrow stem valves, and I'll get these wheels swapped with the ones on the equips, because these are big balloony things that won't fit in, and they're old and fucked anyway. So that's where wheel situation is at. I've got some SSR style, if that's going to focus, there you go. I think these are shank nuts, something like that. Anyway, the narrower section fits within there, and the shoulder sits on the outside with the washer, and that helps locate it. And it means that with your big fat thick centres, you've still got a threaded section holding it all together. So got those from an Australian company called Nice Products, and they are pretty nice actually, and they were also way cheaper than getting them from Japan. What else am I working on at the moment? So this was all together and running and working, and well, near enough still is as well, but one issue I was having was my temperature sender for the dash was not compatible with the stock gauge. This little chap in here, such a simple little design, little electromagnetic variable switch thing, quite cute really. So I tried a couple of solutions for that. I went to pick apart and got a big handful of different senders off of pretty much every type of Toyota I could find. Got all sorts of switches and senders and stuff from my previous endeavours as well. Bench tested all of these, and none of the resistance curves seemed to line up. I tried wiring them in, and they all still didn't work, so it just pegs straight to hot as soon as you turn ignition on, even if the engine's not been on. So yeah, resistance issues there, either that or there's a earth somewhere in the circuit, but I've traced it back and I can't find one, and the resistance on the circuit seems okay as well. Next game was I found in the pick apart, I found a 20 valve silver top AE101, I think, and pinched the temperature gauge from that. I figured that would work with the black top sender, but it just does the same thing, and I've tested it off the car, I've tested it on the car, and with all of my different senders, it all just hits maximum. So I gave up. So what I'm going to do instead, my plan was I was going to splice that living temp gauge into the spot on the dash, so it looked factory. That would have been really nice. But I think what I'm going to do instead, I've got a little digital clock coming, AliExpress special, that will fit perfectly in there. So that gives me some time telling ability back to replace the broken analog clock that I replaced with my voltage gauge. So what I've done, I picked up a, is it SAS? SAS. Come on, focus. Focus? No, not playing ball. Anyway, picked up an aftermarket temperature gauge with its own sender, so I know it's all going to work. That's going to sit down here opposite the voltage gauge, and actually with the height that I am, the original location for the temperature gauge is going to be hidden by the wheel anyway, so I'm going to have a better view than I would have before. So that's the next job there, is to just splice that in. I've got a little adapter coming from a, I think it's 1/8 inch NPT. It's the standard aftermarket sensor thread. This one is a M16 1.5, so I've got a little adapter to make that up. Look at the difference there. It's, yeah, a little wiring. Take my word for it. A bit too small. This is the little cubby that I've just removed from the dash that I'm going to molest to install the gauge in its space. At the moment, in order to get to where that sensor lives, come on, focus. If you can just see down here, so we've got that one just below my finger is the temperature sensor for the ECU, and the space next to it, just down there, is the one for the gauge. This is a SQ Engineering, nice CNC machine, pimp blingy, block off rear plate, that sends off to the heater matrix and that sort of stuff for converting to longitudinal from front wheel drive setup. So that's got a little tapped thing in for that sensor. So we'll stick them in there when the adapter turns up. In order to get to that, because as you can see, it's a fucking tight spot down there. Anyway, sorry. In order to get to that, I've actually dropped the whole cross member down a couple of inches, just to tilt the engine forward a little and allow enough room to get a hand down there and some tools. So currently we are up on jack stands with the cross member supported by jack. A little bit sketchy, but it's working. It's fine. Drained the coolant out again because I decided while I was fucking around behind there, I ought to redo my rather shocking job of heater matrix plumbing. How I had it before, essentially it would work, but we had a constant feed from the back of the head to the matrix, even with the tap closed, which was a bit dumb. It was packaging issues really, but and I don't think it would have made a big difference because without the tap flowing, my mind says as soon as the stuff that's in the matrix gets cold, it's not going to go back and forth anyway. But I've redone it properly, so it should work a bit better this time. Anyway, so waiting on the adapter, get the sender unit in, get the wiring in, bring the cross member back up and bolt it back in, and then yeah, gauge in, coolant back in, bleed it, tyres over, wheels on. Need to fill and bleed the brakes, because I still haven't done that. Yeah, and I think we'll be done. Done! Oh, I also just need to reinstall my Clarion Highway Fidelity. Oof, world reputation, performance and reliability. Look at this beautiful thing here. So,
tuner is the flap for the cassette. Yeah.